This crowd rises to its feet. Okoro slammed it home. Garland left wing, free ball. Perfect! Garland one of the lane, lobbed to Mobley. Pow! And Allen blocked the shot at the rim. Pow! With the left hand and a foul.
Welcome to the Chase Down Podcast, part of the Cavs Media family. I'm your host, Justin Rowan. The Chase Down is presented by Fubo, the official streaming partner of the Cavs. Watch over 350 channels of live sports and TV, including Bally Sports Ohio, without cable. There's no cost and no commitment. Try for free at FuboTV.com/Cavs. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won their two-game road trip with a big win over Chicago. Dominant performance, start to finish, putting them away, and then a furious comeback against the Dallas Mavericks. It's a late night edition of the Chase Down Podcast, and joining me today is my co-host Carter Rodriguez. Carter, how you doing, buddy?
Woof, woof, woof. These boys got me barking.
Is
what
that
a
really
win!
Your best bark?
No,
Come on. You got
no.
better barks than that in you.
No, I was going for the more understated woofing, but nevertheless, super geeked. I just thought it felt like a loss. You know, it felt like I was getting ready to open this same, with Donovan being a game time decision, or something what felt close to it, and then he's not playing. You almost felt like the team kind of just came out not sharp in a way that's like, we were kind of hoping to have him back, and you thought that with how nasty Dallas was playing in that first half, like frankly some borderline disrespectful levels of swag from Luka early in that game. You're just like, okay, it's just going to be a rough night, and maybe Emoni will get some run. And then they just fought and fought and fought. They crossed the mythical Austin Carr 10-point barrier, and then lost it again. And you're like, okay, that was a nice run. They made it competitive for a minute, and oh, that's all you can ask for it. And then they kept fighting back. They kept fighting back. They kept fighting back. They kept hitting timely threes. They kept getting timely stops. The trapping was really working down the stretch. You just got to be so proud of these guys. They're missing their best three players. They shouldn't have won. They shouldn't have won. They certainly shouldn't have won after falling down 20. That should be a death knell. And the fact that it wasn't is really cool.
Well, I actually find kind of the second comeback that they had more impressive because on the one hand, Dallas going out to a big lead, stepping on the Cavs' throats early, as you said, looked a little disjointed. I didn't like the soft switching early in games. Dean Wade picks up 2 early fouls on Luka Doncic, and then, Okoro's on him, but he's kind of getting whatever matchup he wants with those soft switches. It'd be one thing for the Mavericks to go up 20. The Cavs are without Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, and Dallas lets them back into it, right? Like we see that all the time in the NBA. You go up big, the other team's missing their stars. You allow a run, it happens. But then they kind of, made that second run where it felt like they kind of put the Cavs away. They extended the lead, from 6 up to 16 again. I
think
believe
the Cavs got to 4 at one point, and they were back up to 13 or 14.
Right, and then they extend that lead right back out, and usually you would assume, okay, that's the point where Dallas kind of got back into the game. Sometimes it's tough for teams to get back into the game after they give up that lead, after they take their foot off the gas. But they had their run, and the Cavs weren't fazed by that. They didn't say, well, we gave it our best punch, we're just not going to get this one. They ended up answering in a big way, and Caris LeVert obviously was massive down the stretch. But the story of this game truly felt like it was the Jarrett Allen show.
Yeah, I mean, they every second he wasn't on the floor, it was certainly felt like the Jarrett Allen show, right? I mean, he was unbelievable in this one. And extending from the Chicago game. I mean, he had 24, 23, and 6, and it's funny, I tweeted this just before we went live. It kind of felt like watching Derek Lively out there, who has had an awesome start to his rookie year, like way better than I thought he was going to be coming out of a pretty up and down year at Duke. But you look at Derek Lively, and he and Jarrett almost can Spider-Man meme a little bit, super similar frames, similar kind of hypothetical games. And I almost feel like tonight was like Derek Lively maybe learning like, oh, there's levels to this this game, because like you could see the difference between a kid that's in his rookie year that shows a lot of promise in a guy who's been in the league 6 years. Jarrett was, up quicker and more decisive on every rim attack, on every short roll floater or layup attempt. Boxed him out super well. Lively had 4 boards in his 25 minutes. Jarrett had 23. The rim protection, the switching onto Luka. I'll tell you what, if Luka Doncic doesn't dislike Jarrett Allen yet, he's going to after a couple more years of getting his water shut off in the fourth quarter on some of these switches. I thought Jarrett was so good on Luka down the stretch. And I want to shout out that late trap on the final possession of the game. And that is excellent coaching and excellent timing from Jarrett, because they had Lively in the game. And the Mavs needed a 3. So very smart to abandon Lively and go trap. But the timing was perfect, because if you go too early, Lively can just run straight into a dribble handoff, release valve or to set a pin down for someone. But instead, wait till there's about like 5 or 6 seconds left on the clock. Then Jarrett goes, and it short circuits Luka for just that 1 second. He finds Curry on the wing, but there's just not enough time for them to do anything with the advantage that comes from that trap. I thought that timing was perfect, and I think you give a ton of credit to the coaching staff for that play, and you give just as much credit to Jarrett for a flawless execution of the scheme when clearly they wanted Luka to get that last shot.
Yeah, 100%. And terrific defense by Max Strus as well, blocking Seth Curry's game-tying attempt at the end of the game. And it was interesting to hear D'Angelo on the broadcast after halftime saying, basically kind of what I already had in my notes, where I felt like there was miscommunication, the soft switching. I wasn't a big fan of it, and he said, hey, we're playing like just a little bit too passive, right? Like we need to play with more force, we need to be more decisive, or at least decisive was my interpretation of that, because he was saying that they seemed timid in that screen navigation, and I just felt like those halftime adjustments and hearing, hey, this is a point of emphasis coming out of halftime, and then seeing it immediately on the court, that to me speaks volumes. That to me, it shows a coaching staff with their finger on their pulse, and a locker room full of guys that are bought in, ready to make adjustments, ready to listen. And I just don't think
a bunch of smart players, man. The fact that they
that's a great point.
They completely switched up their defensive strategy in the second half of this game. They went from switch everything to hard traps at Luka and sending help at kind of different times. It wasn't always the second they were not doubling on the catch. They were doubling on the go as he would start his move. And every now and again they did give up an open 3 to a Seth Curry or something, and there were some times late in the game where they did get lucky, where he just missed some open looks. But more often than not, they were doing a really good job on the back end rotations of those blitzes, and getting the ball into Derrick Jones Jr.'s hands and saying, hey, go attack a 4-on-3 off the bounce, Derrick. We know you don't really want to. And you saw them short circuit that offense a few times, especially with Kyrie not available. This is a Mavs team that's kind of short on secondary creators and even tertiary creators. Like, it's a lot of play finishers, and Luka kind of being the engine. I thought they played that really, really smartly, but you have to execute that scheme really, really well. And when that wasn't your plan going into the game, the fact that they were able to limit Dallas to 41 second half points is just such a testament to the buy-in from the guys and the execution from the guys, and then obviously some balls from the coaching staff to make that call.
Yeah, totally agree. And you talk about second half points for Dallas. Luka had 20 points in the first quarter and had 19 the rest of the game, right? It was kind of funny. I saw that Luka's previous high against the Cavs was only 35 points, and historically they've done a good job on it. I know, right? He's one of those guys where you get to say only about 35 points. But having that backline defense, as you mentioned, Jarrett Allen has had a history of playing good defense down the stretch on Luka Doncic, and we had a couple games early on with Mobley being out where Jarrett gets in foul trouble, and that has an impact on the game, and just the Cavs' ability to have a normal rotation already down, guys. one personal foul in this game. When he's switching and he's, playing away from the rim as much as he is.
Like, it's perhaps the best foul merchant in the league right now.
Like, to me, that's really, really damn impressive. And, he's been playing like an absolute all-star. Since Garland went out, he's averaging 18 points, 12 and a half rebounds, 3.6 assists. We've been highlighting his playmaking recently, and 13 assists in the last 2 games, I think has been dominant. And you look at the wins over Chicago and Dallas, there's some similarities in both of them. The Cavs outshot both of these teams. They took more threes. They made more threes than both of them. They generated more second chance opportunities. Tonight they had 18 offensive rebounds to 7 for Dallas. When you start winning the possession battle and you're winning the math battle, that can even so much from a talent standpoint. And not to, harp on what we were saying before about, implementing the same style and taking lessons from this when you have everybody back. But I just think it really goes to show that really there's those opportunities there. This is a style that can really, really help the team, and credit to the coaching staff and to the players for buying in and executing to this level and showing the discipline to play the style. Like when you have a guy like Isaac Okoro take 12 threes in the last 2 games, that's really encouraging. Like I was thrilled. Honestly, Chicago I thought was one of the most encouraging shooting games from him because I don't think he's ever gone 0 of 5 before. Like usually when he would miss the first 3, I don't think that 4th attempt is going up. For him to go 0-5 against Chicago and then come out tonight, obviously he hit 3 of his first 4, but 4 of 7 tonight against Dallas. Like that's the type of volume and that willingness to shoot is really big. I could probably point out 5 other times where I thought he should have taken a 3 and didn't take it tonight.
I was going to say the same thing.
It is still a step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to put a bow on the Jarrett thing, his last 2 games, he's got 43 points, 40 boards, and 13 assists, and 4 turnovers. My God, this guy's been nuts.
I mean, there's a reason, right? Like we said, hey, we navigate this stretch if Jarrett Allen continues to show why he's a top 10 center in the league. And, it's funny, like there is a level of sacrifice. And I think, fans look at stat lines like this and they say, well, like you could be doing this every single night. But there really is a level of sacrifice when you play on a team that's as deep as the Cavs is with the top end talent that they have. Like Garland and Mitchell typically account for 50 points a night. And then people want another 20 from Mobley. You want 18 from Jarrett. You want 15 from Strus to justify that signing. Then you probably want 15 from Okoro too, because, he's a promising young player. And then you want Niang to get points. Like there is a finite number of points. And, the benefit of having a team with a bunch of stars is maybe you can kind of exploit whatever the matchup dictates. Like, hey, you have an advantage in this one area tonight. Maybe we lean on that a little bit more. But having Jarrett step up in this opportunity, I think, is just a reminder of how special a player he is and why, teams like Dallas were coveting him reportedly in the offseason, right? Like there's been a lot of reporting out there about that, and it makes sense. He's really damn good.
Yeah, he was really awesome tonight. On the Okoro point, I think the 2 fouls for him just as impressive. And I thought he guarded Luka as well as I've seen anyone guard Luka in a long time. Again, Luke had 39 points. So like, you have to understand that there are levels to this, and Luke is probably, a top 2 or top 3 player in the league right now for a reason. But I thought the physicality Okoro played without fouling, getting up into his space, and then when it was really a killer in this game when Luke was sitting, because I thought he was guarding Tim Hardaway. He was putting Tim Hardaway in hell. And Hardaway hit a couple really tough ones on him. But like I thought Ice was really, really awesome as a 2-way guy in this one. And I think they really, really needed, every bit of his 22 points. Again, continuing to get to the line and scoring in all sorts of ways, which is really exciting. He's not just, it wasn't just that he shot well from 3 tonight. He also got to the line. He also finished in transition. He also, attacked some late closeouts.
A cut.
Yep. Grabbed a couple key offensive boards. Just a really awesome Ice game. Where you want to go next, buddy?
Well, I just want to say with him too, I love seeing him get those ball handling reps above the arc and, just him attacking in the ways that he does and utilizing his skills as a playmaker, like functionally, he's kind of been the backup point guard during this stretch with Donovan Mitchell out. And, it's fun to see him averaging nearly 17 points per game over his last 3 games. He's been more assertive. Like, this is all stuff that you can build off of. And, we talk about him in his role as the backup point guard. Let's talk about a guy that might be making a case for permanent backup point guard in Craig Porter Jr., because I continue to be so impressed by him. Came up a point and 3 assists shy of a triple-double in this game. Came very close against Chicago as well. 19 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists for Dallas. 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists for Chicago. And I'm just so impressed by his poise and the fact that I never feel uncomfortable when the ball's in his hands. I think, you see limitations sometimes with his scoring, and the defense will sag off of him. And there's times where I'm like, hey, you could take this three.
He needs to shoot more. I think there were plays where he was driving into 4-man paints. And I think he's got to be more confident in jumping that. But I don't want to undercut your otherwise great point.
No, I'm saying even with all of that stuff, it's amazing that he can still be as effective as he is, as big of a difference maker. And like, he is feeling like a quality backup at this point. Like, I feel good about him being the backup point guard. And, that might be a decision that the front office is going to have to evaluate here on whether or not it's worthwhile to convert him to a standard contract. I think he's making a very strong case for himself, but for him to be this good this early on, man, that is a luxury. And frankly, like, the Cavs just would not be surviving this stretch if he wasn't playing at such a high level.
No, and by the way, I think I owe JB some flowers because I really thought he needed to get Porter Jr. back in the game at the end of the fourth. And JB clearly decided to bank on how big the lineup was in having LeVert, Strus, Okoro, Allen, and was it Wade? I think it was Wade down the stretch. Yeah. And he kind of, I think the trapping and the, being in rotation as much as he was, he probably was like, I don't want to have anyone that can get picked on from a size perspective. And I wanted Porter in just to kind of juice the playmaking a little bit. Turns out didn't need it. So I got to give JB some flowers when he went away I wouldn't have gone, and it worked out really well. But
and part of that calculus probably was also, Craig's out there getting a lot of rebounds. Dallas may have intentionally fouled there, right? Because he has been struggling at the free throw line this year and split his only pair tonight, or just him being in the bonus. Like, him going to the free throw line, that's not as much of a guarantee, although George Niang did
miss two free throws at the end of the game. So
no
sure things in this world.
You got to discuss process over results there. And George did that just to showcase how well they're able to execute on the defensive end at the end of game, throwing that trap at Luka. Great defense from Max Strus. That's really what George was trying to do there.
Thanks, George. Ultimately I thought CBJ had another awesome game, and I really think there was a stretch in the third quarter where I think it was about 4 minutes left. He picked up his 4th foul. He'd been on the bench, and as with most of the game, when he was on the bench, Dallas was, padding their lead, really kind of retaking control, and JB put him out there with 4 fouls. It's like, hey, I need some stabilizing presence down the stretch of this quarter, and I think he provided that. There were some times where he got stonewalled, but I think just as much. I mean, by the way, he should have had way more than 2 free throw attempts. He was getting hit really hard at the rim. He was getting that 2-way rookie whistle, in my opinion. And that free throw attempt rate to field goal attempt ratio does not match what I was seeing out there. But ultimately, like, he just is a point guard. I mean, he made some really, really advanced passes in this one. 7 assists. I'll bet his potential assists are even higher. He had a crazy look-off pass to Niang in the corner that Niang just wasn't able to hit in that third quarter. He's just a cool player, man. He's really, really cool. I think he is an elite athlete at the guard position, and it really helps them finish possessions. I mean, he had 8 defensive rebounds today, and I would say probably 7 of them were contested. And he also, by doing that, gets the Cavs into their offense. I remember in the those old OKC Russell Westbrook teams, it was so valuable having him be such a great defensive rebounder because he could just immediately take it and start going. Like, you're getting into semi-transition every time he gets a defensive rebound. And no matter kind of what the opponent's floor balance was, because he can just hit the gas. So he's just a really cool player. He opens up things for the team that aren't open otherwise. And as you mentioned, they're just not winning these games without him. He is as crucial as any Cavalier to their success over the last 4 games. Like, I would put him up there as him. He's been as important as Jarrett Allen. Like, Jarrett Allen's been better, but in terms of like, they can't afford CPJ to be like listless or lost. Like, he is so important for them right now, which is like a statement of how beat up the roster is, especially at the ball handler level, but it's also a statement of how good he's been, that he has become so irreplaceable in this offense.
He's been as irreplaceable for the Cavs as Zoom is for this podcast. Support for this podcast and the following message comes from Zoom. 500,000 businesses connect using Zoom, a single platform for phone, chat, workspaces, events, apps, and video. Zoom enables real-time collaboration for teams around the globe. Zoom, how the world connects. Carter, I absolutely do need to bring up the comparison for Craig Porter Jr. that I saw on Twitter from Ben from Real Cavs fans. He compared him to the professor, Andre Miller. And I like, it's just so fitting. He reminds me so much of a young Andre Miller in terms of his ability to get up there, get the rebounds, get the assists, his poise, his ability to use the angles, his footwork. I'm just all in on this kid. I'm such a big fan of his game, and I continue to be blown away that the Cavs were able to find a gem in him as an undrafted player. And then, someone like Emoni Bates at 49, who, is exciting. Obviously, Ross still has a ways to go. But it was fun that when Dallas kind of put this game out of hand, quote unquote, early on, that Emoni came in, he took some shots, and, he is following my mantra, which is the wrong decision is better than indecision. I am never going to see indecision out of Emoni Bates on the basketball court. He knows exactly what he wants to do with the ball. Some of the shots were a little adventurous, but he was out there. I thought the playmaking was good. I thought he gave them life. His energy out there, just when the Cavs were looking a little bit listless, I really thought that he came out and gave them a spark off the bench. And I was actually kind of curious. I had jot this down in the first half or early in the third of, would we like to see a second stint out of him? And, obviously the rotation that the Cavs went with was a big contributing factor for them coming back and winning this game. But after, him having positive minutes, would you have liked to see him get a run in the second half, or, go with the veterans and the guys that ultimately brought this one home?
No, we won the game. It's so easy to answer because we won the game running the rotation. Whoa, Jesus. Lost my headset.
Easy.
We won the game with the rotation we ran. So, no, I wouldn't have wanted to see a second shift. But to your point, I thought he actually gave us really good minutes. I thought his passing was really, really good. I didn't actually think the shots were that adventurous, to be honest. I thought they were fair, reasonable shots. They were quick trigger, but like, he's a shooter. That's what the team asks him to be. So,
Yeah, that's fair.
I
The
guess
adventurous one, I think, was the second 3-point attempt,
it was deep.
Which was maybe, it was very
It was
deep.
like a step or two beyond the line. So, like, that was definitely a little deeper than maybe you want, but like with where the game was, it didn't much bother me. So yeah, I was actually hoping we'd get to Emoni. I figured we'd get to him at some point. We have to talk about Caris, who had, a really interesting game. I mean, we were saying before we went live, is such a, first off, talk about kind of exposing how weird plus minus is as a single game stat. To play 28 minutes, score 29 points, functionally be the reason you won the game in the fourth quarter. I mean, like, the last 6 minutes were Caris time. And to be
that three hit to give them the lead, I was just I almost leaped out of my bed as I was watching it.
Absolutely. So the fact that like I playing that well and then being minus 16 for the game, like just shows like guys, you have to pay closer attention to what's happening on the floor. What lineup, what's contributing to some lineups that are not going so well. Like he certainly had some brain farts early on, especially on the defensive end. You know, Strus comes over. I actually blamed Strus for this on Twitter, and I think I was wrong because Strus came to trap Doncic, and Caris did not rotate up to Seth Curry, who hit a immediate wide open first pass away three. So like there was some stuff.
I remember that one. That was on Caris.
Yeah, there were some plays like that where you go, but like the shot making was so crucial, man. The shot making was unbelievable. I just think Caris just feels like a different player when the 3-pointer is going. You know, I always kind of thought that would be the bonus, but we'd count on the mid-range game. But like, especially the pull-up three, especially with the lineups that the Cavs are running right now, like they just don't have that other than him. And I thought his rim attacks were really, really good down the stretch in the fourth. I thought he really attacked with a lot of violence. You know, I think if I have a critique of Caris, sometimes in some of his rim attacks, it can be a little floaty. It'll be like, get an advantage and then kind of do the step back and ride him on your hip. But that just leads to really hard finishes that only like guys like Luka can consistently make. I thought he played really violent attacking the hoop. There, he was, you know, his hip was going into guys and moving them out of the way to generate clean angles or to force the help to come over so someone like Jarrett could come clean up the play. He was really, really awesome in this one. 7 assists to 2 turnovers. I was really, really pleased with how Caris played in this one. How could you not be with the threes he was hitting? I think he kept them in the game early on offense and then won them the game late.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, you know, this is one of those situations, you know, he's been sitting out with knee tendonitis. The fact that he was able to get a week off, I think it was evident in his burst and just how quickly he moved around. Like when you talk about him like violently finishing through guys and attacking the rim to the same extent, having that burst and that explosiveness with your knee is going to make a big difference. It's obviously going to make a big difference with your 3-point shooting as well, right? Going 6 of 11 from 3. I think early in the season, he was shooting the ball incredibly well. And then as these lower body, first I believe was hamstring and now, you know, the knee tendonitis, as those came up, I think the outside shot just hasn't been there. So that's going to be something that we need to monitor. I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if, you know, you don't play him back-to-backs in situations like that. But hopefully this is something that isn't going to linger too long. But it's just one of those injuries that can be a pain. I hate it. I have to deal with knee tendonitis far too frequently. So I'm.
If you ever got a question about a bulky knee, hit up your boy Justin Rowan.
Oh yeah,
he has a lot of experience.
I've got loose bodies in it right now. I can feel it clicking. It's a lot of fun. But I think his playmaking often gets overlooked as well. You look at the last 4 games that he's played. 5, 7, 4, 7 again tonight. Like he's providing that supplemental playmaking that's so important. And I think when you look at what he did,
it's not supplemental right now. It is the playmaking.
Well,
capital THE playmaking.
Yeah, it is still supplemental because you got Craig Porter Jr. out there. You got Jarrett dropping 7 assists as well, right? Like their assist to field goal ratio is great. And that's not always an indicator of great offense. Like I think people love to see, you know, 80% of the field goals were assisted, but you look year over year, that doesn't necessarily correlate with the best offenses in the league, but it definitely feels like they're generating really good opportunities. I saw a stat that the Cavs actually lead the league in Morey ball attempts, which is the number of field goal attempts. If you combine field goal attempts at the rim and 3-point range, they're actually taking. That
surprised me. That means we're shooting a ton at the rim.
Yeah, the Cavs are 5th in terms of rim frequency and 12th in terms of 3-point frequency. That may change after tonight's game. But, you know, they take high quality shots and they're not finishing them at a particularly high clip either for the year. That's something that you might see more normalization, especially as they get more talent back. I think it's going to help. But I just feel like the ball is moving really, really well. And continue to be impressed with just the level of execution and how prepared they look, because I don't think you're getting anyone's best punch right now with the guys that are out for the Cavs. Like, that's just reality. It's human nature, but it's another thing for the Cavs to come out as prepared, as play as hard as they have, and really take advantage of that and make teams go, oh shit, this is not exactly what I expected tonight to be.
I thought this game was particularly cool insofar as, like, Utah, they come out and punch them in the mouth to start, and Utah's like, whoa, what just happened? Same with Chicago. But in the New Orleans game in between that, New Orleans pounced on them, and the Cavs were just like, well, we're missing our top 3-4 guys, and we'll see you next game, guys. You know, like, it kind of very clearly was like, yeah, this is just not going to happen for us. So the fact that this was kind of the first game where, because, like, no, you're not getting teams' best shots, but Dallas came out executing at a super high level, and when a team is having fun bullying you, that's hard to come from a talent perspective, because it's not like Dallas. I feel like they completely let go of the string. I think they just, the Cavs took them out of their stuff. And, like, you know, like, it could have been a pile-on game. Dallas is the kind of team that loves to win by 40. You know, like, you see
Dallas did what I want the Cavs to do when they played, you know, the opponents that they should beat. They came out putting their foot on
they were
Cavs'
nasty.
throat.
It was mean.
They were demoralizing them. And most times in the NBA, teams fold after that. Like, the opposing team usually, especially on the road, they're going to be out of it. It's not our night. It's 82 game season. It's a marathon. It is what it is. The Cavs didn't fold. And you know, Dallas, I think you're on the money. I don't think that they were taking the Cavs lightly. They thought that they could put the Cavs away early on, and they thought they could put the Cavs away several times throughout that game.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. I'm just so proud of their resilience, man. It was just a really, really cool game, because it's, you know, obviously Okoro has an unusually efficient and high volume game, but everyone else, like, played, like, within the realm of, like, reasonability. Like, Caris had a good game for Caris. Jarrett had
Jarrett was freaking awesome.
Jarrett was freaking awesome. But, like, you know, like, Dean didn't go nuts. Struce did not have a super efficient game. Niang had an efficient scoring game, but I think, you know, struggled with guarding this is a really tough matchup for him in space, and having to do a lot more playmaking than I think he's really comfortable with. Like, you know, so, like, I think, like, it wasn't like they had, like, a mystical night where everything went right. They had to earn this one via scheme, via execution. I mean, there's that one possession where they had, like, 5 offensive rebounds and just kept bricking wide open threes. And you're like, oh, maybe it's just not our night. So they just had so many opportunities to give up, turn in, and be like, well, that sucked. But they didn't. They fought and they fought and they fought. They changed things up, and it's just really cool. You can tell JB is having a lot of fun, by the way. Listen to his post game presser. You can tell he's really enjoying coaching these guys right now. You know, like, I would imagine
they're playing his style. They're taking a ton of threes. They're playing up tempo. This is JB ball. I've been trying to tell you that this is JB ball.
But well, at least it is this year. You know, this is the stuff he's been preaching all year. And, like, I think, you know, ultimately, like, I do kind of feel like if I were the coach of a team that had a ton of expectations with a ton of top-end talent, like, you can only ever kind of get yelled at. Like, you know, like, your problems to solve are just different. But, like, when you're having to figure out how to win with, like, a scrappy group of guys, and the coaches are like, what are we going to do at half? They're running us off the floor. And, you know, like, just knowing that you're going to go to this group of, you know, 3rd through 12th through 14th men, and be like, hey, we're going to have to just figure this out, guys. You in? And them all, you know, kind of nodding in unison. Like, how does that not get your blood going if you're a coach? And how fun must this be for JB, who, you know, it's been a rough, weird year. So, like, to win 4 of 5, to win 3 of 4 down your top 3 players, like it's just really, really exciting. I know I'm just speaking in wide truisms at this point, but it's just fun, man.
Yeah. I do think it's a reflection, though, of the way that they want to play, right? Like, I think it's important to remember this was the style that they played in preseason. This was what every player on that roster said that they wanted to play this year. And I think it's some proof of concept that, hey, this was guys being banged up that really kind of made it tough, especially with lower body injuries. Like, they're just not able to get up threes at the same rate. So I'm going to be curious to see kind of how this evolves as they do get healthy. But man, like, when it was announced that Mitchell wasn't going to play against Chicago, I got to be honest, I thought that was a loss. I looked at the Cavs at 16 and 13. I said, man, we're falling to 16 and 16 here. Like, this is going to be a 3-game losing streak. Chicago, I believe they had won 9 of their last 12. They've been playing great. They're at home. They're rested. I thought that was a loss, and the Cavs came out and they won that. Then they go out and they get this game as well. And now, they're 5-1 in their last 6 games. They're half game back of 4th in the Eastern Conference. And like, this was the stretch. This was the 3 games here. Especially once Mitchell went out, the Chicago, Dallas, Milwaukee games, that was going to be the toughest stretch before it really gets light for a bit and gets light in the kind of lead up to the return window for Darius Garland. And that's really, really exciting. I know we've got 4 games against Milwaukee this month. So that's a little less than fun, or I should say in the next 30 days here. But man, outside of that, there's a lot of opportunities for the Cavs to make a move up the standings. And the fact that they've been making a move up the standings while these guys have been out, man, I don't think you can give them enough credit right now. Like, I love this team. I love how hard they're playing. This has been so much damn fun.
Yeah, I mean, really, they go to 15 and 12, and they win a gutty game in OT against Houston, and you look at that, you see Donovan go out, and you go, oh, and then you see Caris go out, and you go, oh. And you look at, and they really could be staring down the barrel of a 4-game losing streak right now, going into a home tilt against Milwaukee, and all of a sudden you're down maybe in the bottom end of the play-in, and instead they're a half game out of 4th. And like, these are the kind of stretches that you just, if you thrive, or in stretches where you should just be surviving, or otherwise maybe taking a hit, you just buy yourself more margin for error, either to absorb another bad luck, because by the way, bad luck doesn't just even out. Like, the Cavs might just keep getting unlucky, over the course of the year, and they might need more margin for error. And it also buys you room to get really, really hot during an easy stretch once you are healthier, and be higher than you would have been otherwise in the standings. So it's just a really, really important stretch of resilience for this team. And I do think it's a culture stretch. Once Darius and Evan went out, I tweeted something along the lines of, this is going to be a real test for like the culture that the Cavs say they have built. I think they've been passing that test with flying colors. Yeah,
I completely agree. And one of the things I was thinking about, so obviously, Donovan Mitchell participated in shoot around today. So I think it's fair to conclude that he's on his way back from, the illness. And yeah, assuming, I hope it wasn't too bad that he had to go through, because no one likes being sick. But if it's a respiratory illness, it makes sense that, conditioning might not be there yet. So it'd be great to have him back against Milwaukee. But one of the things that kind of came to mind as we were playing Chicago, I remember 2 years ago when Lonzo Ball was out for the Bulls rallied, they played really hard, they found ways to win, and there was a hope that Lonzo Ball was going to come back later in the season. And then you look at them the next year when Lonzo was ruled out for the season, and it just didn't carry the same vibes. I think, understanding that, hey, we're going to get Donovan back at some point. We're, halfway through the 4-week evaluation period for Darius. Like, that's a motivating factor for these guys as well. And it shows, there's a belief that, hey, we can do something special when we're fully healthy. So let's not throw that opportunity away in this stretch. Let's step up. Let's make the most of this. because we have a belief in what the end goal of this season can be. And I think you're really seeing that reflected in the effort. Because if there was any doubt, if there was any questions about this, I just don't think you're getting this level of buy-in. I think you would see the cracks really start to show in this situation if there wasn't a belief in what this team can be and what this core can be. And, the Cavs, as we're recording this, I was doing my normal thing of ignoring you and scanning Twitter, like seeing Donovan Mitchell FaceTiming Darius with Caris after the game, like just taking in the win and whatnot. Like, that's so much damn fun to see. It's so much fun to see these guys involved to the level that they are. And it's hard not to love this team. And it's surprising that this is kind of the fun vibes part that we've had. But, it goes to show you just the weight of expectations where, when you're expecting this team to, compete for a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, like, wins can feel bad. When you're in a situation like this and the expectations are lowered, you just appreciate it so much more, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was one thing I was kind of hoping would happen in the wake of the Evan and Darius injuries, was like, hey, at a personal level, I'm not having as much fun with this season because I'm too worked up about macro trends. And I felt like I was kind of getting away from kind of my own like stated credo as a fan, which is try to have fun with your hobby. And like, it kind of makes it easier just to have fun with your hobby when the team is playing this hard, playing this together. Even if they'd lost tonight, obviously I think the celebratory tone is going to be a little different. But I still think we're saying most of the same stuff, and still feeling pretty darn good about this team. So the win is the cherry on top, but the process and the performance and the resilience and the culture is what makes it fun.
Yeah, I was fully expecting to be like, hey, they got the one in Chicago. That's the one you needed. You split this road trip. That's a big win. Now the Cavs get to head home. Who knows? Maybe they can steal one against the Bucks. It wouldn't be the first time that they've stolen a game against the Bucks. They've played well against them in the past. So fingers crossed there. But man, the vibes are feeling really damn good right now. So after you play Milwaukee, you've got Toronto on the 1st of January. I'm going to be in a mood. You play Washington twice. You play San Antonio. You play Brooklyn. You play Chicago again. This is an important stretch for the Cavs, and I'm excited to see if they make the most of this opportunity. Big thanks to everyone that tuned in and watched us live and stayed up late with us. It's been a lot of fun. Make sure if you're watching on YouTube, you like and subscribe. Click the notification bell so you know when we're going live. If you're listening via podcast and you want to support us, leave us a rating, leave a review, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, and help cook those books. If you want to be part of Chase Down's exclusive Discord chat, send a screenshot of the review to chasedownpod@gmail.com. However you choose to support us, really do appreciate it. Be sure you guys are staying safe out there. Until next time, go Cavs.
Ow!